Rusty Lake, spring, 1860. James Vanderboom arrived at Rusty Lake. His uncle had just passed away under mysterious circumstances. James was his uncle's only heir. He had no idea of the events that would change his life.
Hmm. My son, read my letter. What is your first name? What is your last name? Do you want my key? What do you want? What do you need to live again? What do you need to open the gate? I will help you.
Hello, brother. Find the elixir. You drink first, brother. Don't worry. We are always here in our past and future lives. Give me the seed. The fate of Rusty Lake lies in a small seed. If you want against me, in this life or the next.